Hello everyone, welcome to Presqu'ile Provincial Park. My name is Sydney and I am a naturalist with the Friends of Presqu'ile. Today, we will be exploring our Marsh Boardwalk Trail. On our virtual field trip today, we are going to talk about the plants of the marsh. We'll be exploring the ways that these plants help the animals that live here. Can you think of any ways that plants can help animals? Well, there are a number of different ways that plants help the animals in the marsh, and we're going to talk about a few of them today. Let's get started. Here we are in the marsh. Did you know that Presqu'ile has one of the largest marshes on Lake Ontario? Look how big it is! I was walking along this trail the other day, and I started to think about the many plants here and how they help the animals. I got thinking, I wonder what the most important plant in the marsh is. Do you think you can help me decide? As we go for our walk today, I'll tell you a little bit about how the plants here help the animals, and people too. Then, hopefully you can help me decide what the most important plant is here in the marsh. Okay, let's get started. Have you ever seen this plant before? These are called cattails, and they are a very special plant here in our marsh. They get their name from the brown, furry part at the top of the plant because it looks a little bit like a cat's tail. This is actually a part of the flower of a cattail. Cattails are important plants for the marsh because they help every single animal that lives here. Can you think of any ways that cattails might help the animals of the marsh? The first thing that you might notice about cattails is that they provide shelter, a safe space for animals to hide from other animals or from the weather. When I walk along the Marsh Boardwalk Trail, I can hear birds all around me, but it's very hard to actually see them since they're hiding among the cattails. Cattails are also used by animals to build their nests and their homes. We have a number of different birds here in the marsh that build their nests among the cattails. One of these birds is called the marsh wren, and they actually build their nests suspended in the air between two cattails. Kind of like a hammock. Sounds comfy to me. Cattails aren't only used as shelter. Some of the animals here in the marsh rely on cattails as a source of food. Muskrats, for example, love to eat cattails. It's their favorite food. Muskrats don't eat the leaves of the plant though. Instead, they eat the tasty roots below the water. They will also use the cattails to build their lodges, where they like to live. So, muskrats live in houses made of their favorite food. I wish I could do that too. I haven't even mentioned the most important role of cattails yet. And this is how all of the cattails help every single animal in the marsh. Who has ever seen a fish tank before? Some of you may have one at home, or maybe one of your friends does. In a fish tank, we have something called a filter. The water in the fish tank moves through the filter, and as it passes through, it removes harmful bacteria and other things that are in the water. Then it lets the water back out when it's clean, which helps to keep the water and all of the animals that live in it healthy. The cattails are the filter of the marsh. Their roots are in the water, and they act like a filter. They help to get rid of harmful chemicals from the water, and that helps to keep the water clean for all of the plants and animals that live here. Actually, this helps humans too. Our drinking water comes from lakes and streams, so cattails help to filter the water that we drink too. Who knew that such a simple-looking plant could be so important? So we've learned that cattails help a lot of animals in the marsh. They provide protection, nesting areas, food, and even help to keep the water clean. Wow! Maybe they're the most important plant in the marsh. Let's keep going and see what other plants we can find. Since we are talking about plants today, we should also talk about this one. This plant might look pretty cool, especially since it has the feathery head. But this plant is actually a bad guy in our marsh. These guys are called Phragmites, and they're what we call an invasive species. This means that this plant is not supposed to be in our marsh and is causing damage to the habitat. Phragmites are kind of like bullies in the marsh because they don't like to share space with other plants. Phragmites like to grow very close together, often crowding out other native plants in the marsh. And it also releases a toxin into the soil to slow growth and kill surrounding plants, allowing it to spread even faster. Because the plants grow so close together, it's hard for animals like beavers and muskrats to travel through them. Here we have another familiar plant in the marsh, lily pads. Lily pads are just the leaves of the plant, and the rest of the plant is submerged underwater. We have two types of lily pads here at the marsh, white water lily and yellow pond lily. The lily pads are different shapes, and they have different shaped and colored flowers as well. Let's take a look over the edge of the boardwalk and see if we can find any animals using the lily pads right now. Check out that frog! He's using the lily pad right now. Can you think of any ways that lily pads might help the animals that live in our marsh? When we think of lily pads, we might think of frogs and how they use lily pads as a resting place when they're hunting for insects. Sometimes dragonflies will rest on lily pads as well. A lot of the work that lily pads do happens under the water. The water in the marsh is filled with lots of baby creatures, like baby fish, baby frogs, and even baby insects. All of these baby animals need protection from predators. Lily pads provide a great place to hide, especially from predators above the water, like birds. Some animals, like beavers, muskrats, and even deer, like to eat the lily pad leaves too. So they provide food for some animals. You may notice that these lily pads also have flowers. How might the flowers help the animals in the marsh? Well, flowers provide food for insects like flies, bees, and butterflies. So that means it's a source of food for insects. That also means that the flowers help the animals that like to eat those insects too, like frogs and dragonflies. So, lily pads are important because they provide shelter for baby animals. They provide a resting place for frogs and dragonflies, and they provide food for lots of different animals here. Could they be the most important plant in the marsh? Let's keep going and check out the next plant. These shrubs around me are what we call an indicator plant. When you see them, you know that water is around, because they love to be wet. These plants are called red osier dogwood, and you can recognize them by their unique red bark. This shrub grows all around the marsh on the edges of the water. Even though these guys love the water, they can't grow where the water is really deep. And it has flowers in the spring and berries in the fall. Can you think of any ways that dogwood might help animals? Well, dogwood is an important plant for some of the birds that live here in the marsh. The sturdy branches make a great place to build a nest. The flowers that we see in the springtime provide food for insects, just like the lily pad flowers, which means that there's more food for our insect-eating animals as well. When these flowers turn into berries, kind of like this, many birds like to stop in for a snack as they fly down south for the winter. While dogwood helps animals, it can also help people too. Indigenous peoples across North America have a variety of different uses for dogwood. Some use it for basket weaving and for making dream catchers because the stems are very flexible. Various parts of the plant can also be used for herbal medicine, and this bright red bark can be used as a dye for fabrics. So dogwood is an important plant in our marsh because it provides a safe place to build a nest. It provides food for a variety of different animals, and it can be used by people too. Do you think that red osier dogwood might be the most important plant in our marsh? I have one more place I want to show you guys. Let's go see it. Today we explored 3 special plants found in our marsh and talked about the ways that they can help people and the animals that live here. There are many more plants in the marsh, and each one has their own special purpose. So I hope you will come and visit Presqu'ile Park with your family and show them all that you learned today. Remember, I need your help to decide what the most important plant is here in the marsh. If you decide which plant you think is the most important, I would love to hear your answer to the question and why you think it's the most important plant here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had fun on our virtual tour. I hope to see you here in person at the marsh very soon. Bye everyone!